Chapter 482. Devouring Saber World, Coercing Dao Tai. Saber World. Fen Yunshan then remembered. His promise to Lin Fei was indeed about the Saber World. Thus, Fen Yunshan solemnly said, "Senior, please follow me." Actually, Saber World is a secret realm left behind by the ancestors of my Fen family. This time, Taoist Mo Yu came for that secret realm. I hope he hasn't destroyed it. Led by Fen Yunshan, Lin Fei arrived at the Fen family's ancestral hall. In the hall, a portal appeared, leading to the secret realm. Lin Fei leaped into it, entering the secret realm. Inside, the realm was in disarray. Taoist Mo Yu had nearly entered it of its contents. And surely, Taoist Mo Yu had other avatars that had already left. The items were irretrievable. But Lin Fei didn't need the items in the secret realm. He was more concerned with the realm itself. Fortunately, although aged, the secret realm was still intact. Moreover, Saber World could exist independently as its own realm, even if its master died. This was why the Fen family's Saber World had not disappeared over the years. But now, it was about to vanish. From this day forth, the Fen family's secret realm would be gone. Lin Fei and Fen Yunshan exited the secret realm. Lin Fei said to Fen Yunshan, "I am very satisfied with this Saber World. I am now going to take this Saber World away. From now on, your Fen family will no longer have the secret realm." Fen Yunshan felt somewhat distressed, as the secret realm was a legacy of his ancestors. But only in this way could the safety of the Fen family be secured. So, Fen Yunshan gritted his teeth and said, "Please proceed, senior." "All right." Then, Lin Fei took a deep breath. At that moment, Lin Fei's Saber World descended. Lin Fei also possessed a Saber World, and it was merged with the world law. His Saber World was far stronger than the Fen family's secret realm, especially with the integration of the world law. Lin Fei's Saber World, upon its arrival, directly overpowered the Fen family's secret realm. Crack! The Fen family's secret realm shattered. But it was all right. Both were Saber Worlds. Once shattered, they could be completely integrated into Lin Fei's Saber World. This was Lin Fei's intention. He aimed to forcibly devour the Fen family's Saber World. Indeed, as the Fen family's Saber World gradually crumbled, Lin Fei's Saber World swiftly devoured it, expanding ferociously. With every bit it consumed, it expanded wildly at an incredibly rapid pace. Lin Fei's conjecture was correct. As long as he could find enough Saber Worlds to devour, his own Saber World could continuously expand, significantly enhancing its might. Now, it seemed his theory was proven true. Quickly, the Fen family's Saber World collapsed. Lin Fei's Saber World devoured it entirely. In a short span of time, the Fen family's secret realm completely disintegrated and vanished. In its place, Lin Fei's Saber World expanded more than twofold. Not just in size, but its power increased by far more than double. Lin Fei could distinctly feel his Saber World had grown much stronger. He even considered trying to withstand the third heavenly thunder. Of course, it was just an attempt. Whether he could resist the third heavenly thunder, Lin Fei still wasn't sure. Unless he could devour another Saber World. By then, he would be confident in withstanding the third heavenly thunder and smoothly proceed with the second thunder tribulation. Fen Yunshan looked at the empty space before him, somewhat bewildered. The Fen family's secret realm was gone. The Fen family was preserved for now, but what about the future? What would the Fen family rely on later? "Senior, could you take me as your disciple?" Fen Yunshan suddenly asked. Lin Fei, with a half-smile, calmly said, "You might not fully understand the status of a member of the Great Dream Sect. Every member of the Great Dream Sect is, in theory, a disciple of the Great Dream Ancestor. Between you and me, we are also regarded as fellow disciples. So, I don't have the qualifications to take you as a disciple. However, while the secret realm of your Fen family is useful, how could it compare to the Great Dream Heart Sutra? The Fen family's Saber World could at best make you a martial king. But the Great Dream Heart Sutra starts from martial gods and even reaches beyond martial gods. Make good use of the Great Dream Heart Sutra and your status as a member of the Great Dream Sect. That is your only true reliance for rising to power, far stronger than any secret realm. Having finished speaking, Lin Fei's figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. He had given Fan Yunshan enough guidance. The rest was up to Fan Yunshan himself. After all, while few were lucky enough to receive the Great Dream Heart Sutra, not many of them ultimately grew strong. Whether Fan Yunshan could seize this opportunity was entirely up to him. Lin Fei wouldn't intervene in such matters. Soon, Lin Fei returned to the ancient city. This time, he had gained a saber world, which greatly enhanced his own saber world and increased his strength considerably. Moreover, he hadn't spent any contribution points, which pleased him. However, such good fortune wouldn't always be available. He still needed to continue taking on tasks from the Great Dream City. For now, he wasn't entirely confident in surviving the Second Thunder Tribulation and obtaining the 3 world laws. He decided to wait until he was more certain before attempting it. After all, he was still young and had become a martial god not long ago. He had plenty of time. With the Saber World task already announced, his next focus was on enhancing his physical body, which required the essence of world origins. This was a bit more challenging. World origins? Lin Fei pondered. I can't contest for small worlds right now, but that doesn't mean I have no way to obtain world origins. He had something in mind. With a wave of his hand, a massive figure appeared before him, Taoqi's avatar, which Lin Fei had been keeping confined. Dao Tai, your original body must want this avatar back, right? Lin Fei asked. Dao Tai glanced at Lin Fei and coldly responded, Speak, what do you really want in exchange? Realizing Lin Fei intended to use it for trade, Dao Tai asked directly. Simple, world origins, Lin Fei stated straightforwardly. Give me world origins and I'll release you immediately. What? World origins? Not just you, even I desire world origins, Dao Tai retorted. In the divine realm, who doesn't want world origins? Even if you kill this avatar, my original body won't exchange it for world origins. Dao Tai flatly refused. Is that so? Lin Fei responded. Then there's no use keeping you. Annihilate. Without hesitation, Lin Fei made his move. The world law surged powerfully, instantly suppressing the area. The power from hundreds of his particle worlds erupted, converging into his palm. A terrifying aura enveloped Taoqi's avatar, seemingly about to turn it into ashes with a single strike. Stop! Stop! Taoqi's avatar's face changed drastically, shouting out in fear and looking at Lin Fei with terror. Chapter 483. Obtaining World Origin, Physical Enhancement. Do you have something else to say? Lin Fei asked calmly. Dao Tai finally breathed a sigh of relief, then gave a bitter smile and shook his head. I was just trying to negotiate. You can't just demand world origins like that. You didn't even try to negotiate, just went straight to using force. Negotiate? Lin Fei looked at Dao Tai curiously. So, Taoqi's decisive refusal was a form of bargaining. Fine, deal or no deal, no bargaining. Lin Fei declared. World origin, as long as you provide world origin, I'll let your avatar go. Of course, that's no problem, Dao Tai quickly agreed. World origins are precious, but over the years, my true body has indeed collected some. But how much do you want? As much as possible. Lin Fei insisted. Whatever you can give, I'll take. I can offer only one portion of world origin, Dao Tai replied. Over these years, I've accumulated only one portion. I intended to use it myself, but haven't had the chance yet. A single portion of world origin typically refers to the origin of a most common small world. Frankly, Lin Fei hadn't expected so much. But since Dao Tai was offering a full portion, Lin Fei was more than willing to accept. Fine, one portion of world origin it is, Lin Fei agreed. Let's meet outside the ancient city. No problem, Dao Tai confirmed. Give me no more than 3 days and my true body will arrive. Lin Fei nodded. He hadn't expected Dao Tai to be so wealthy. He was just making an offhand remark, not really expecting to receive world origins, let alone a full portion. This was indeed an unexpected burn. To exchange a mere avatar for a portion of world origins was undoubtedly a great deal for Lin Fei. In fact, Lin Fei was unaware of how difficult it is for an exotic beast to create an avatar. This process is significantly more challenging than for deity transformation powerhouses who can manifest billions of incarnations. For an exotic beast to cultivate a single avatar is exceptionally arduous, requiring an immense amount of time. Moreover, once an avatar is destroyed, creating another becomes even more challenging. The destruction of an avatar can also impact the original body to some extent. Although the effect isn't too severe, there is still some influence. Therefore, unless absolutely necessary, an exotic beast would not want its avatar destroyed. This is why Tao-Chi's original body was willing to pay the hefty price of a portion of world origin for the safety of just one avatar. If Lin Fei had been more knowledgeable in these matters, he might have been able to negotiate for more. However, a single portion of world origin was sufficient for his needs. Time flew by, and 3 days passed. Tao-Chi's avatar informed Lin Fei, "My original body has arrived outside the ancient city." "Has it?" Lin Fei opened his eyes and stood up. With a flash, he flew out of the ancient city. It didn't take long for him to encounter Tao-Chi's original body. The original body was similar to the avatar, albeit with a slightly stronger aura. However, Lin Fei, having already transcended a thunder tribulation, was not intimidated by Dao Tai. This was also why Dao Tai acted so honestly. Especially the avatar, which knew full well how formidable Lin Fei was. Unbeatable and with greater potential, Dao Tai had no choice but to obediently hand over the world origin. "Here is a portion of world origin," Tao-Chi's original body said, presenting it to Lin Fei. Lin Fei took it and immediately sensed the intense essence of the world's origin, confirming it was indeed from a small world. He then released Tao-Chi's avatar. Whoosh! The avatar merged back into Tao-Chi's original body. "Martial God Lin, we have come to know each other through conflict," Dao Tai said. "But I must warn you, be careful of Kun." After leaving this cautionary note, Dao Tai departed. Despite losing a portion of world origin, Dao Tai harbored no resentment towards Lin Fei. The loss was a result of its own greed and a miscalculation of Lin Fei's capabilities. Moreover, Lin Fei did not destroy its avatar, leaving no deep grudge between them. Tao-Chi's decision to sneak into the ancient wilderness was risky. Had the ancient covenant discovered it, the avatar would have been destroyed long ago. In retrospect, Dao Tai considered itself fortunate that the avatar could rejoin its original body. And the instigator of all these events was Kun. Dao Tai held a grudge against Kun but felt powerless against it. Perhaps only Lin Fei could pose a challenge to Kun. Kun. Lin Fei muttered to himself. He hadn't forgotten about Kun. Previously, he had annihilated one of its avatars. Though that avatar had been suppressed for a long time, avatar's destruction was still a significant loss for Kun, and it was unlikely to let this pass without retribution. However, although Kun was part of the ancient covenant, Lin Fei hadn't yet thoroughly investigated its actual power. The main reason was Lin Fei's own strength was still lacking. "Even though I know Kun is in the ancient covenant, I can't do anything to it," Lin Fei thought. "This portion of world origin should enhance my physical body." Lin Fei returned to the inn and immediately began to integrate the world origin into his body. This portion, though ordinary, was the essence of a small world. Deity transformation powerhouses use it to comprehend space, martial gods to enhance their bodies, and exotic beasts to strengthen their bloodlines and physical forms. Hence, the world origin of a small world is coveted by many. Let's begin. Lin Fei immediately started merging the world origin into his body. Every particle of his physical body began to grow robustly. World origin represented the purest form of energy. Each strand perfectly integrated into his body, enhancing his physical particles, the foundation of his physical form. Thus, he was strengthening himself from the very core. Lin Fei's physical body enhanced at a visible rate: 10%, 30%, 50%, 70%, 90%. In the blink of an eye, his physical strength had doubled. This exponential growth then gradually slowed down. With his physical strength doubled and combined with the power of his particle worlds, Lin Fei's capabilities were now incredibly formidable. Facing the third heavenly thunder was definitely not a problem anymore, and he could even withstand the fourth thunder. It's about time. Surviving the second thunder tribulation and capturing 3 or even 4 world laws is quite an achievement, Lin Fei thought to himself. There's no need to further enhance my physical body and world laws for now. It's better to transcend the tribulation as soon as possible to maximize my strength. After further enhancing my strength and becoming a second tribulation martial god, I might even be able to contest for the world origins of small worlds. Lin Fei's plan was clear. For each level of advancement, like the second or third stage, obtaining more than 3 laws during each tribulation would suffice. There was no need to suppress his realm to capture 5 or 6 laws. It was better to increase his realm and overall strength first and then contest for a large number of world origins later. Thus, Lin Fei left the inn and returned to the ancient Covenant's free tribulation site. He entered the formation again, this time to face his second Thunder Tribulation. Chapter 484. Second Thunder Tribulation, the Fourth Purple Heavenly Thunder. The news of Lin Fei facing his second Thunder Tribulation spread rapidly. The fact that he was attempting to transcend tribulations twice in such a short period naturally caught the attention of many deity transformation and martial gods. The community buzzed with various speculations and discussions. How long has it been since martial god Lin of the Great Dream Sect transcended his first tribulation? Less than a month. Such a short time to face 2 consecutive tribulations. What kind of confidence does he have? But considering he withstood 3 heavenly thunders and captured 3 laws during his first tribulation, martial god Lin is no ordinary martial god. He must be sure of himself to do this. Surviving 3 heavenly thunders in the first tribulation is a sign of a potential martial ancestor. How could his second tribulation be weaker than the first? Let's see how many heavenly thunders martial god Lin can withstand this time and how many laws he can capture. Many were intrigued to see whether Lin Fei truly had the confidence for his second tribulation or if it was a rushed and arrogant decision. Unaware of the outside discussions, Lin Fei was completely immersed in his own physical state. He was acutely aware of his body's condition. Let's begin, he focused his mind. His consciousness perceived the vast sea of origin in the void. Boom. The first heavenly thunder rolled down mightily, striking Lin Fei's body with full force. His physical particles rapidly disintegrated under the thunder's impact. However, Lin Fei did not utilize the power of his particle worlds, he chose to withstand it purely with his physical strength. After all, his body had absorbed world origin and enhanced several-fold, far surpassing the physical form of an ordinary martial god. Despite the strength of the first heavenly thunder, Lin Fei's particles, fortified by the world origin, were significantly stronger. He endured, and his body sustained damage to nearly 2/3 before consuming the first heavenly thunder, also capturing the first world law. Lin Fei's goal was not just to capture a single law or merely survive the tribulation. His lost physical strength quickly recovered. At his current realm, recovery took only a short time, but the lingering power of heavenly thunder within his body would prevent complete restoration. This was the challenging aspect of the thunder tribulation. Boom. Another heavenly thunder struck down, and Lin Fei captured the second world law. This second thunder was significantly more ferocious than the first, its destructive aura pervading the void. It descended instantaneously, giving Lin Fei no time to dodge. The thunder struck him, annihilating 1/3 of his body's particles on impact. The power of the 400 particle worlds within him was fully activated. Boom. The force from the 400 particle worlds erupted, overwhelming the second heavenly thunder. Despite its destructive power, the second thunder paled in comparison to the might of Lin Fei's particle worlds and was promptly extinguished. Lin Fei's eyes narrowed slightly. He had underestimated the power of his 400 particle worlds and his self-created techniques. His particle world method, once combined, grew exponentially stronger with each additional world. Just 400 worlds were this powerful. What if he had 4,000 or even 40,000? If he could transform all the particles in his body into particle worlds, considering he had billions of them, the required number of world laws would be unimaginable. The second heavenly thunder was effortlessly countered by Lin Fei, and without hesitation, the third thunder descended, its power even more immense. It obliterated the force of the 400 particle worlds in Lin Fei's body, but his saber world intervened, annihilating the remnants of the thunder's power. 3 heavenly thunders already, people observed. Martial god Lin has endured 3 thunders. That was incredibly fast, even quicker than his first tribulation. Yes, so fast. It seems the power of these thunders was different. Different power. Try it yourself. Surviving even one is hard enough, let alone three. Surviving 3 thunders in the second tribulation is a feat only top martial gods can achieve. Why hasn't martial god Lin emerged yet? Could he be attempting to withstand the 4th thunder? This comment didn't seem to surprise everyone. Many grew silent, realizing Lin Fei hadn't yet come out. There was only one reason for this: the tribulation wasn't over after 3 thunders. Boon. As expected, another heavenly thunder descended from the void, the 4th thunder. This thunder was different. It was purple, a change that signified an increase in its might. Unlike the previous thunders, the 4th purple thunder carried an overwhelming power, causing palpitations in everyone who witnessed it. Clearly, this 4th thunder was far more terrifying than the combined force of the first 3. 4th heavenly thunder. Lin Fei looked up at the descending purple thunder, his expression turning sullen. He could tell that this thunder was unlike the previous ones, possibly underestimating its power. But there was no turning back, no room for retreat. Saber World. Lin Fei instantly activated his Saber World, integrating world laws into it to form a barrier. Boon. The purple thunder struck, causing Lin Fei's Saber World to tremble before it completely shattered. It tore through the Saber World as if it were an unstoppable force, reducing its power only slightly. The shattered Saber World could no longer resist the purple thunder, which then struck Lin Fei directly. His ordinary particles were no match for this formidable thunder. All 400 of his particle worlds erupted in response. Even though these particle worlds were minute and couldn't be considered as complete worlds, lacking even life, their combined power was still earth-shattering. They collided fiercely with the purple thunder. Lin Fei's physical body was torn apart and his particles shattered. 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%. When over 80% of his body, almost 90%, was annihilated, the destruction finally ceased. The purple thunder vanished. Lin Fei had withstood the 4th heavenly thunder. Chapter 485. 7 world laws, 800 particle worlds. After the 4th heavenly thunder, Lin Fei's body rapidly regenerated. Just a bit more, and my entire body would have been annihilated. I underestimated, especially the power of the 4th thunder. Its might was at least 10 times stronger than the previous thunders. I must be more cautious and estimate all possible dangers in the future, Lin Fei reflected, feeling a bit shaken. Over 80% of his body had been destroyed. Had the 4th thunder been slightly stronger, he would have perished. Unlike deity transformation powerhouses, martial gods don't have avatars. Once their physical body is completely destroyed, they die. However, with great risk comes great reward. Lin Fei had survived the 4th thunder and obtained 4 world laws. These laws were enough to create another 400 particle worlds, bringing his total to 800. His strength had doubled. Furthermore, his world laws were now stronger, and their integration with the Saber World might lead to a qualitative change. Even though he had only transcended the 2nd thunder tribulation, Lin Fei's strength was now comparable to top-tier martial gods. He had captured 7 laws in just 2 tribulations, a feat other martial gods, following a standard progression through 7 tribulations, would only match by capturing about 7 laws in total. Lin Fei stood up and left the formation area. As he emerged, the onlookers came back to their senses. 4 thunders, 4 laws, and this was only his 2nd tribulation, they murmured in awe. Great Dream Sect has birthed another top-tier powerhouse. Such ambition and talent, aiming for the rank of martial ancestor. Such rapid succession of tribulations, and is capturing more laws each time. How many will he take in his 3rd tribulation? It's truly exciting to anticipate. This is Lin Fei from the Great Dream Sect. Many now recognized Lin Fei. Capturing multiple laws in 1 tribulation could be luck, but doing it twice, especially 4 in the 2nd tribulation, was a clear sign of his exceptional abilities. And the 4th purple thunder's might had been witnessed by all, just watching it had been terrifying, let alone withstanding it. The day after Lin Fei transcended his 2nd thunder tribulation, his name would likely spread throughout the entire ancient covenant. Unconcerned with his growing fame, Lin Fei returned to the inn and began considering finding a more permanent place to stay in the ancient city. Staying continuously in an inn was not convenient for him. In his private room at the inn, Lin Fei focused on creating new particle worlds. With the 4 new world laws he had obtained from the tribulation, he had enough to create 400 additional particle worlds. The process went smoothly, and within a few days, he had successfully established the 400 new worlds, bringing his total to 800. Just a fraction of the power from these 800 particle worlds could unleash earth-shattering strength from his martial god body. After leaving the private room, Lin Fei found a suitable residence in the city and purchased it, establishing his permanent home in the ancient city. He then visited the Great Dream City, considering undertaking some tasks. Now that his strength had significantly increased and with no leads on the Saber world, he decided to focus on accumulating contribution points. With enough points, he could even exchange for world origins, though that was an expensive and less efficient option. However, contribution points were crucial, especially since Lin Fei aspired to acquire the 3rd layer of the Great Dream Heart Sutra, which required a substantial amount of points. While Lin Fei was browsing tasks, a familiar figure approached him. Xu Yu. Lin Fei recognized her. She was the one who had hired him for a mission to Black Moon City and had now found him again. Senior Lin, Xu Yu greeted him. I have a task. Would you be interested? What is it? I need a drop of Vermilion Bird's essence blood to enhance my bloodline. I've run out of contribution points, but I have a clue about the Saber world. I can exchange this clue for a drop of the essence blood. Xu Yu explained her proposition. A drop of Vermilion Bird's essence blood in exchange for a clue about the Saber world. And it's just a clue. Lin Fei smiled at Xu Yu's proposition. Acquiring Vermilion Bird's essence blood was no easy task, as it required facing the Vermilion Bird itself, the true god-level exotic beast, no less formidable than Dao Tai. Xu Yu's ambition or greed in seeking such a powerful enhancement for a martial king, especially one who had consolidated 9 bloodlines, was considerable. Naturally, for the achievement of becoming a martial god, no price would be too high for her, yet she lacked the necessary contribution points and hoped to exchange a mere clue about the Saber world for Lin Fei's intervention. However, Lin Fei was indeed in need of the Saber world, even if it was just a clue. Can you reveal a bit more about this clue? Lin Fei asked. For instance, is it feasible to obtain the Saber world, or is it easily accessible? I wouldn't want to end up with a clue leading to a Saber world owned by a powerful, living martial god. Lin Fei's questions indicated his willingness to consider the task, much to Xu Yu's delight. She assured him solemnly, rest assured, martial god Lin, the clue about the Saber world I possess will definitely satisfy you. As long as you take on this task, obtaining the Saber world won't be an issue. Lin Fei understood that the clue was viable and seemingly not too difficult to follow. The real challenge would be obtaining the essence blood of the Vermilion Bird, a god-level exotic beast comparable, if not superior, to Dao Tai. The Vermilion Bird was only slightly less powerful than the Phoenix, a top-tier god-level being. Although not the apex among god-level beings, the Vermilion Bird was undoubtedly formidable. Extracting essence blood from the Vermilion Bird would be a monumental task, requiring the suppression of the beast. However, Lin Fei was confident in his strength, especially after his second Thunder Tribulation. I'll take the task, Lin Fei agreed. But it may take some time. Take as much time as you need, Xu Yu replied. I'll be waiting. Lin Fei didn't act hastily but began gathering information about the Vermilion Bird. Like Dao Tai, the Vermilion Bird was an ancient and powerful member of the All Beasts Alliance, a loose collective similar to the Ancient Covenant. Lin Fei's task was not to kill the Vermilion Bird but merely to obtain a drop of its essence blood. If he could overpower it, the task should be manageable. However, the key information he needed was the number of avatars the Vermilion Bird possessed. God-level exotic beasts capable of creating avatars were exceptional, and the more avatars they had, the stronger they were. If the Vermilion Bird had multiple avatars, especially if they were together, Lin Fei would face significant pressure. Therefore, clarifying details about the Vermilion Bird's avatars was crucial. Chapter 486. Vermilion Bird, lend me a drop of your essence blood. Lin Fei sought out information. Swiftly, he unearthed the details he sought. The Vermilion Bird, within the ranks of the All Beasts Alliance, had cultivated approximately 7 avatars. One must not underestimate these 7 avatars. The Vermilion Bird was, after all, a divine exotic beast. Once these avatars united, their collective might equal that of 7 divine-level exotic beasts. Even more fearsome, once these avatars merged back into the original body, their power would surge terrifyingly. However, the 7 avatars were not often found together. Typically, only 2 or 3 would convene at one location, a fact that brought Lin Fei some relief. Even the combined force of all 7 avatars didn't exceed Lin Fei's expectations. 7 avatars shouldn't pose too formidable a challenge, he mused. Their strength should be on par with Taoqia's. Subduing the vermilion bird just to obtain a drop of its essence blood should be quite manageable. Still, given its residence within the All Beasts Alliance, swift and decisive action is prudent. Lin Fei pondered silently, confident in his current strength and ability to subdue the vermilion bird. His world laws were formidable, far surpassing those of an ordinary martial god. Moreover, he possessed the saber world, a lethal weapon when combined with his world laws. Above all, his most potent asset was his 800 particle worlds. Once unleashed, their power was nothing short of cataclysmic. Having transcended just 2 thunder tribulations, Lin Fei felt the task of subduing the vermilion bird was well within his capabilities. Resolving to act, Lin Fei no longer hesitated and promptly departed from the ancient covenant, soaring towards the All Beasts Alliance. In the territory of the vermilion bird, within the All Beasts Alliance, many god-level exotic beasts possessed their own domains. The vermilion bird, aligned with the element of fire, allowed only fire-attributed exotic beasts within its realm. Beasts of other elements were forbidden entry. Unlike martial gods or deity transformation beings, the vermilion bird lacked ambition and had no desire to cultivate. The reason was simple: cultivation for exotic beasts was extremely challenging and their lifespans were immensely long. Unlike martial gods or deity transformation entities, who lived for merely 100,000 years, god-level exotic beasts, especially those like the vermilion bird, had lifespans so lengthy that even they were unaware of their limits. Having lived for millions of years without signs of life fading, the vermilion bird spent most of its days in slumber. However, in recent days, the vermilion bird had been restless, unsure of the cause. To investigate, it summoned all 7 of its avatars, but nothing unusual was detected. Could I have misperceived something? The vermilion bird murmured to itself. A restless spirit was often a sign among god-level exotic beasts, usually indicative of an impending calamity. But what could possibly threaten the vermilion bird in its own lair within the All Beasts Alliance? Perplexed, the vermilion bird found no answers. Then, suddenly, a mysterious force descended. The area around the vermilion bird's dwelling, spanning several miles, seemed to be entirely cut off. This was a complete isolation, preventing any external aura from being sensed. Such a technique could only be wielded by a god-level powerhouse. Who? The vermilion bird was startled. If it were an exotic beast, it would have sensed some aura, but there was none. Moreover, the intruder had reached its very lair, clearly not a trivial entity. Slowly, a figure emerged from outside the cave and appeared before the vermilion bird. Martial god. The vermilion bird recognized at a glance. This figure was a martial god and even carried the aura of a thunder tribulation, though not a potent one. This indicated the visitor was a low-level martial god. But a low-level martial god daring to enter its lair. Here, bring out whoever's hiding behind you, no use skulking in the shadows, the vermilion bird scoffed, certain that someone more powerful must be backing this martial god. A low-level martial god alone wouldn't dare confront it in its own lair. Lin Fei, indifferent to the accusation, faced the vermilion bird. Vermilion bird, I merely wish to ask a favor of you, he spoke calmly. Lend me a drop of your essence blood, and I shall depart immediately. Essence blood. Insolence. The vermilion bird's temper flared. How could it give away a drop of its essence blood under such circumstances? Its body became enveloped in flames, the blazing inferno threatening to incinerate the void itself. The space walked around them, even threatening to distort Lin Fei's saber world. Lin Fei remained expressionless, having anticipated the vermilion bird's reaction. If that's the case, I shall first have to subdue you, he resolved. Boom. Lin Fei made his move, launching a simple yet powerful punch. To the vermilion bird, this punch instilled a deep, instinctual fear. The force felt overwhelmingly terrifying, as if facing a top-tier martial god whose single punch could shroud the skies and shatter everything. Lin Fei was not a top-tier martial god, he was a genuine low-tier martial god, having only transcended 2 thunder tribulations. However, he possessed 800 particle worlds. The punch he threw harnessed the power of all these worlds, resulting in a cataclysmic force that seemed capable of crushing everything in its path. This tremendous power engulfed the Vermilion Bird instantly. Vermilion Bird's 7 avatars, the Vermilion Bird roared. 7 dazzling flames erupted skyward, representing its 7 avatars. Lin Fei had anticipated this and was prepared. World laws, suppress. Lin Fei utilized all his world laws, merging them with the Saber world. The force of the Saber world erupted, suddenly imbued with overwhelming suppressive power. This formidable force made the Vermilion Bird and its 7 avatars struggle immensely, as if they were burdened by the weight of massive mountains, thoroughly constrained. This was the transformative effect of Lin Fei's world laws merged with the Saber world, capable of directly suppressing the Vermilion Bird. While this suppression could not harm or kill the Vermilion Bird, it severely hindered its movements. But Lin Fei's true trump card was not just the suppressive power of the Saber world, it was his 800 particle worlds. He unleashed the force of these worlds upon the 7 avatars. Bang, 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 the 7 avatars, without exception, were obliterated by Lin Fei's single punch. No. The Vermilion Bird let out a furious roar, its expression turning frantic and desperate. But it was unable to prevent Lin Fei from annihilating its 7 avatars with a single punch. Only 7 trembling flames remained, weakly flying back into the Vermilion Bird's body. The Vermilion Bird gazed deeply at Lin Fei and slowly spoke, conceding, "Cease your assault. You desire a drop of essence blood, do you not? Take it." Spurt. The next moment, a wound opened on the Vermilion Bird's body. From this wound, a drop of crimson blood, rich and vibrant, coalesced. This was no ordinary blood but a drop of its essence blood, teeming with immense energy and even the bloodline of the Vermilion Bird. The Vermilion Bird clearly understood that the martial god before it was beyond its capability to defeat. Continuing the battle would only lead to greater losses, and it even risked the possibility of its own demise. Thus, it chose to compromise and offered a drop of its essence blood. Lin Fei had no intention of slaying the Vermilion Bird. Such exotic beasts had their own lethal tactics and countless ways to preserve their lives. It was unnecessary for him to pursue its death. His goal was achieved once he obtained the essence blood. "Then I thank you, Vermilion Bird," Lin Fei said, grasping the drop of essence blood. Swoosh! In the next instant, his figure vanished without a trace. Who exactly was that? The Vermilion Bird murmured softly, gazing at its damaged lair. However, it was powerless to pursue the matter further and resolved to investigate later. For now, it had to preserve its 7 avatars, retaining the hope of their restoration in the future. As for the identity of the intruder, it seemed less significant now. After all, even if it discovered who it was, the Vermilion Bird knew it could not seek revenge. Chapter 487. Domination. Lin Fei forcefully acquires the Zheng family's Saber world. Lin Fei returned, now in possession of a drop of the Vermilion Bird's essence blood. He promptly contacted Jiu-Jitsu, who was overwhelmingly thrilled to see the essence blood in Lin Fei's hands. This was the final piece she needed for her 9th bloodline. With the Vermilion Bird's essence blood, her transcendence to her 9th bloodline was within reach, paving the way for her potential ascension to martial god status. She had waited for this moment for far too long. Becoming a martial god meant she no longer had to conceal her identity in the Great Dream City and could openly exist without fear of others' covetous or prying eyes. "Thank you, martial god Lin," Jiu-Jitsu said sincerely. "No need for thanks, it's merely a transaction," Lin Fei replied. "I give you the essence blood, you give me the clue to the Saber world. Now, tell me the clue." Jiu-Jitsu assured Lin Fei that she indeed had a clue about the Saber world, and it was located within the ancient covenant. She then shared the information with Lin Fei. According to Jiu-Jitsu, the Saber world was situated within the Zheng family of the ancient covenant. The Zheng family had once produced a martial king and currently boasted another. This martial king, once a Saber king, had left behind the Saber world, transforming it into the family's sanctuary. Although the Zheng family had a martial king, for Lin Fei, acquiring their sanctuary would be effortless. The complication, however, lay in the fact that this martial king was a disciple of a martial god. This was Lin Fei's dilemma. Furthermore, both he and the Zheng family were part of the ancient covenant. A forceful demand for the sanctuary could lead to troublesome disputes. Ideally, persuading the Zen family to voluntarily relinquish the sanctuary would be the best course of action. Lin Fei pondered for a moment. He decided not to demand the sanctuary forcefully at first but to see what the Zen family required. If the Zen family willingly relinquished the sanctuary, it would be ideal. However, if they refused, Lin Fei was prepared to play the role of the villain. After all, in the pursuit of the Great Path, competition was inevitable. The Saber World was crucial for Lin Fei's third Thunder Tribulation, and regarding matters of his tribulation, he would not yield. So, he set off directly for the Zen family residence. The patriarch of the Zen family, Zen Yushu, was also the only martial king in the family. Currently, he had only 3 bloodlines and was far from achieving the 9 bloodlines necessary for becoming a martial god. His potential was exhausted. He had little hope of ascending to martial god status. Therefore, Zen Yushu shifted his focus to nurturing the younger generation in the hopes that a martial god would emerge from the Zen family. But this was a daunting task, as the Zen family had never produced a martial god, with martial king being their highest attainment. "Sire, Lin Fei, a martial god from the Great Dream sect, is here to visit," a servant suddenly reported. Martial god Lin Fei. Zen Yushu tensed. A visit from a martial god was rare and sought after, and now one had come to visit the Zen family of their own accord. However, it was peculiar considering the Zen family had no connections with the Great Dream sect. What could have brought a martial god to their doorstep? With a mix of curiosity and unease, Zen Yushu hurried to the hall to meet the visitor. Upon his arrival, Zen Yushu saw Lin Fei and greeted him cautiously. He had never met Lin Fei before and had no prior dealings with him. Lin Fei was straightforward, asking about the Saber World that a Saber King from the Zen family had evolved and which now served as the family sanctuary. "Yes, that's true. Our ancestor left behind the Saber World as a legacy for future generations," Zen Yushu confirmed. Lin Fei then revealed his purpose. "I am here for the Saber World left by your ancestor. It is of great use to me. What would the Zen family require to part with this Saber World?" With this, Lin Fei presented his request. Zen Yushu's heart sank slightly upon hearing Lin Fei's request for the Saber World. Indeed, a Saber World created by a Saber King and transformed into a sanctuary held significant benefits for a family. The family's descendants could enter the sanctuary to comprehend the Saber World, continuously nurturing outstanding individuals. Losing such a sanctuary would be a substantial loss for the Zen family. After weighing the situation, Zen Yushu finally shook his head. "I'm afraid I must disappoint you, Martial God Lin. The Saber World is of great importance to our family and cannot be relinquished. Cannot be transferred." Lin Fei looked at Zen Yushu, having anticipated this possibility. Still, he had hoped to try. "If the Zen family agrees to transfer the sanctuary, you would gain my friendship," Lin Fei continued. "Furthermore, I could grant the Zen family a favor. Any request you might have can be discussed." However, Zen Yushu remained firm. "My family currently has no such requests. Please forgive us." Zen Yushu could tell that Lin Fei was indeed very keen on acquiring the Saber World. If it were anything else, even if at a loss, Zen Yushu would have considered transferring it to avoid offending a martial god and potentially gaining a powerful ally. But the Saber World was foundational for the Zen family, and he was unwilling to part with it at any cost, even if it meant offending a martial god. Moreover, Zen Yushu had his backing. He was in the Ancient Covenant and had a martial god as his master, so he wasn't afraid of Lin Fei's forceful approach. Yet, Zen Yushu underestimated Lin Fei. Speaking calmly, Lin Fei said, "It seems the patriarch of the Zen family has made up his mind not to part with it. Unfortunately, I am resolute in obtaining the Saber World. Therefore, I must apologize for the offense." The next moment, Lin Fei's Saber World descended, immediately isolating the entire Zen family. Zen Yushu's face paled instantly, his voice trembling as he asked, "Senior Lin, what are you intending to do?" "What do I intend? Naturally, I'm here to take the Saber World," Lin Fei replied as he slowly rose to his feet. "Wait, Senior Lin, my Zen family is a subordinate force of the Unity faction," Zen Yushu hastily interjected. "I swear fealty to Martial God Du Yuan of the Unity faction. If my master gets wind of this, it won't look good for Martial God Lin. So, I urge you not to be so overbearing." This was both a reminder and a threat from Zen Yushu. The Yumi faction, founded by one of the 8 great martial ancestors, Unity Old Ancestor, stood on equal footing with the Great Dream Sect. It was not intimidated by the Great Dream Sect. As for martial gods, Zen Yushu's master, Tu Yuan martial god, was also a distinguished martial god of the Unity faction. His status was on par with Lin Fei. By forcefully taking the Zen family's saber world, Lin Fei risked creating an awkward situation for himself, especially if Tu Yuan decided to intervene and hold him accountable. Zen Yushu even believed that Lin Fei might not be a match for his master, Tu Yuan, should a confrontation arise. Then let Tu Yuan come to the ancient Covenant City to find me, Lin Fei declared. Without further ado, he located the Zen family's saber world sanctuary and enveloped it with his own saber world, sweeping it away. Whoosh! In the next moment, Lin Fei vanished without a trace. Lin Fei. Zen Yushu clenched his teeth in anger. This matter was far from over. He immediately set off for the Unity faction to report the incident. Chapter 488. The Descent of the Martial God Tu Yuan, seeking an explanation. Lin Fei returned to the ancient covenant. Without hesitation, he entered seclusion. The Zen family's mystical realm was in his possession, once the saber world of the Zen Saber King. Now, this realm lay completely enveloped within Lin Fei's own saber world, utterly subdued and dominated. Thus, Lin Fei's consciousness could probe within it. The former saber world, transformed into a mystic realm, comparable to other such enigmatic lands, its only difference, perhaps, was its slightly lesser expanse. After all, how vast could a realm evolved by a saber king be? Saber world, devour. Lin Fei commanded without a moment's delay, commencing the absorption of this mystical realm. With a thunderous rumble, despite the realm's strength, it stood no chance against Lin Fei's current saber world. Under the crushing force of his saber world, the realm rapidly began to disintegrate, its fragments merging into the saber world. Lin Fei's saber world expanded visibly at an astonishing pace. As time trickled by, 3 days later, Lin Fei completely devoured the Zen family's realm. Excellent, the saber world grows ever stronger. If I devour a few more saber worlds, then, relying solely on the saber world, I might even withstand 3 heavenly tribulations, resisting at least 3 divine thunderbolts, he murmured softly, a hint of unusual light flickering in his eyes. Devouring the saber world accelerated its growth immensely and increased nearly exponential in scale. Such a predatory advancement proved highly effective, far outpacing the arduous, step-by-step cultivation. Having tasted such rapid progression, the traditional path of cultivation seemed hardly appealing. Of course, this was possible due to the uniqueness of Lin Fei's world laws, able to accommodate and even devour other saber worlds, allowing his own to expand continuously. Without these world laws, Lin Fei's saber world would struggle to absorb others, let alone expand. Thus, only Lin Fei could accomplish this feat. Other martial gods could not replicate his method unless another martial god, like Lin Fei, comprehended the world laws and coincidentally evolved a saber world. But such a possibility was exceedingly slim. Yet, saber worlds were elusive to find. To date, Lin Fei had devoured only 2. Yet, this had led to a qualitative leap in his strength. With his current prowess, passing through 3 heavenly tribulations seemed feasible. Easily surpassed 3 tribulations, but to withstand several divine thunderbolts was more challenging. Lin Fei's ambition was not merely to survive the tribulations. He aspired to plunder more laws. Only through this could he hope to master a complete path and thus ascend to the stature of a martial ancestor. Even becoming a great martial god or a true monarch was not his ultimate aim. Achieving true monarch status and shattering the void was, in Lin Fei's view, a matter of time. But becoming a martial ancestor was a far greater challenge. Saber worlds were scarce. What remained was the origin of the world itself. Plundering this origin was arduous. With his current strength equivalent to 7 laws, even with the saber world, even with the particle world, he could be considered a top-tier martial god. But to vie for the origin of the world, to contest for smaller worlds, he was still far off. Unless Lin Fei survived 3 heavenly tribulations and in those tribulations plundered 3, 4, or even 5 laws, only then could he qualify to contend for smaller worlds. For now, Lin Fei prioritized stability. Then I can only continue to wait for an opportunity. Thus, Lin Fei quietly waited in the ancient city. Preferring stability, shunning risks. rather waiting for the next clue about a saber world than recklessly competing for smaller worlds. For he had no certainty of victory, no assurance, and it would be perilously risky. While Lin Fei waited silently for an opportunity, Zhen Yushu had already reached the Unity faction, meeting his master, the martial god Jiu-Jitsu. "Master, I beseech you to stand up for your disciple." Upon seeing Jiu-Jitsu, Zhen Yushu immediately knelt. His expression was one of utter misery, and he spoke. What has happened, Yushu?" Jiu-Jitsu opened his eyes, addressing Zhen Yushu with a faint inquiry. "Master, it's like this." Zhen Yushu then recounted everything in detail, describing how Lin Fei forcefully seized the Zen family's secret realm. Upon hearing this, Jiu-Jitsu pondered for a moment and said, "The Great Dream Sect, Lin Fei. People from the Great Dream Sect, indeed, could do such a thing. The martial gods of the Great Dream Sect have always acted unbridled. However, Lin Fei has now affronted our Unity faction. I shall not sit idly by in this matter." "Thank you, Master." Zhen Yushu's heart swelled with joy. Jiu-Jitsu glanced at Zhen Yushu and then shook his head. "However, don't harbor too much hope. If Lin Fei is so determined to take your secret realm, he must have significant use for it, possibly even related to transcending tribulations. If that's the case, even if I intervene, I might not be able to retrieve it for you. But regardless, Lin Fei owes you an explanation." Jiu-Jitsu was well aware that getting Lin Fei to return to the realm was difficult. Unless he could completely overpower Lin Fei. But was that so easy? Subduing a martial god was no simple feat. Moreover, Lin Fei was a member of the Great Dream Sect. The martial gods of the Great Dream Sect, each acting in enigmatic ways, were also strong. Although Jiu-Jitsu was powerful, fully suppressing a martial god was not guaranteed. Nonetheless, Jiu-Jitsu had to intervene. Otherwise, if other martial gods bullied their way to him, what face would Jiu-Jitsu have left? He might become the laughingstock of other martial gods. Master's willingness to intervene is more than I could ask for. How dare I expect more? Zhen Yushu spoke respectfully. Regardless of whether they could retrieve the secret realm or not, Jiu-Jitsu's intervention was a show of support for Hen. "Very well, let us delay no longer, let's set off now." With that, Jiu-Jitsu, accompanied by Zhen Yushu, headed straight for the ancient city. In the Great Dream City, Lin Fei was conversing with a martial god. Someone is inquiring about me." Lin Fei was somewhat puzzled. He had just learned from this martial god that someone was seeking information about him. Indeed, it's Jiu-Jitsu from the Unity faction. In the Great Dream City, many members of the Great Dream Sect were exchanging information, and news traveled fast. Lin Fei was immediately aware of the inquiries about him. The Unity faction, Jiu-Jitsu. After a brief contemplation, Lin Fei understood. It must be Zhen Yushu's master. Zhen Yushu's master was a martial god of the Unity faction. Doubtlessly, Jiu-Jitsu would soon seek him out. However, Lin Fei had anticipated a visit from a martial god of the Unity faction. As fellow members of the Ancient Covenant, Lin Fei couldn't annihilate the Zen family. Such an action would change the nature of things, and even the Great Dream Sect might not protect him. But not destroying the Zen family meant they would eventually seek the intervention of the Unity faction's martial god. After all, this matter had to be addressed somehow. Otherwise, the Zen family wouldn't let it rest. "Right, I heard that the Unity faction has produced many Saber Kings. If you're looking for Saber Worlds, this might actually be an opportunity," the martial god conversing with Lin Fei said with a smile. "Saber Kings of the Unity faction." Lin Fei's eyes lit up. Indeed, he had almost forgotten about that. The Unity faction was a martial arts sect with a long heritage. It was natural for them to have produced Saber Kings, even many of them. The Saber Worlds preserved by them would surely be numerous. Normally, Lin Fei had no excuse to visit the Unity faction in search of Saber Worlds. But this time, he might just have the reason he needed. Thus, Lin Fei was even feeling a bit of anticipation. On this day, Lin Fei suddenly opened his eyes, and at the same time, a thunderous voice boomed from the sky. "Lin Fei, Jiu-Jitsu of the Unity faction has come to seek an explanation." This voice, mighty and resounding, spread throughout the surrounding void. For a moment, the entire ancient city turned its attention to this event. Chapter 489. A Test of Strength. Who's afraid of whom? Herm. They are here. Lin Fei, inside his house, heard the booming voice. Immediately, he knew Jiu-Jitsu had arrived. His visit to the Zen family inevitably led to this confrontation. Lin Fei was well prepared for this. After all, among martial gods, strength was the ultimate arbiter. Whoosh! Lin Fei stepped out, arriving in the void. He instantly spotted Zheng Yushu and the martial god standing before him, Jiu-Jitsu of the Unity faction. Are you Lin Fei, fellow Taoist? Indeed, I am Lin Fei. Martial god Lin, for seizing the Zen family's secret realm, do you have anything to say? There's nothing to say. The Zen family's realm is crucial for my tribulation. I had initially proposed a fair deal. But Zheng Yushu refused to part with it, leaving me no choice but to take it by force. Since you've come for this matter, I won't shy away. Whatever means you have, I am ready to face them. Seeing Lin Fei's straightforward approach, Jiu-Jitsu felt a sinking feeling. As he had anticipated, Lin Fei's seizure of the realm was for his tribulation. In pursuit of passing the tribulation, one might go to any lengths. The chance of Zheng Yushu reclaiming the realm seemed slim. Yet, Jiu-Jitsu couldn't just let it go. Martial god Lin is indeed forthright and generous. Since you've admitted everything, it seems we are headed for a confrontation. If martial god Lin wins, then let bygones be bygones. But if I win, how shall we proceed? The realm has already been used by me and cannot be returned. But if you win, I will grant your request. How about that? Agreed. Jiu-Jitsu pondered briefly. The best resolution at the moment seemed to be this. What other choice did he have? To kill Lin Fei? The Great Dream Sect would never agree. If he truly killed Lin Fei, would the Great Dream Sect and the Unity faction choose to go to war? That would lead to internal strife within the ancient covenant. The martial ancestor would never allow it. If he could get Lin Fei to agree to a request, that would be quite an achievement. And a way to save face. Of course, this was contingent on defeating Lin Fei. Battle. Jiu-Jitsu initiated the attack. Zheng Yushu had no choice but to retreat to a safe distance. When martial gods engage in combat, it is no ordinary affair. Lin Fei was equally serious. This was his first encounter with a martial god, his first battle against one. Previously, he had only faced deity transformation cultivators. In truth, within the same rank, a martial god's combat strength surpasses that of a deity transformation expert. However, deity transformation experts possess stronger survival abilities. Each has their own strengths. Jiu-Jitsu charged straight at Lin Fei, initiating close-quarters combat. This is where martial gods truly excel. Once in close range, martial gods are nearly invincible. Lin Fei was no less formidable. As a martial god himself, he certainly wasn't afraid of close combat. Thus, he too lunged forward. Bang, bang, bang. The two utilized their physical strength in the battle. With pure bodily power, Lin Fei even refrained from employing the strength of his particle world. A fierce battle ensued. Two shadows clashed incessantly, engaging dozens of times in an instant. A pure clash of strength and skill. Jiu-Jitsu had been a martial god for tens of thousands of years, having transcended 5 heavenly tribulations. His laws were approximately 7 in number, having withstood 2 divine thunderbolts in some tribulations. In terms of the number of laws, he was roughly on par with Lin Fei. However, over these tens of thousands of years, Jiu-Jitsu had utilized the world's origin not just once or twice. Thus, his physical strength was extraordinary. In terms of pure physical strength and defense, Jiu-Jitsu was stronger than Lin Fei. Hence, in close combat with Lin Fei, Jiu-Jitsu quickly gained the upper hand. Of course, neither used their laws, and Lin Fei had not yet employed his particle world. Realizing his disadvantage, Lin Fei hesitated no more. Particle world. Boom. The next moment, Lin Fei's particle world erupted within him. But it was not the full 800 particle worlds, merely 200 particle worlds. This was the number Lin Fei had calculated beforehand. With the eruption of 200 particle worlds, a vast power burst forth within Lin Fei's body. Simultaneously, this formidable force struck Jiu-Jitsu fiercely. Jiu-Jitsu's body shook violently. This power. He was astounded. Moments before, he had been overpowering Lin Fei in terms of strength. But now, Lin Fei had unleashed a terrifying power that instantly surpassed his own. Du Yuan found himself at a disadvantage, and the disparity in strength was clear. The situation reversed in an instant. Has he employed a law? Du Yuan was uncertain. He hadn't sensed any fluctuations of laws yet. How else could Lin Fei's strength have surged so dramatically? Du Yuan didn't know, but he decided not to delve into it. To avoid defeat, there was only one course of action: unleash his law. My law is the law of strength. A peculiar gleam flashed in Du Yuan's eyes. Few knew his law was that of strength. Thus, in terms of sheer power, few martial gods could match him, even among those who had transcended 7, 8, or even 9 heavenly tribulations. In strength, they were hardly his match. This was a source of pride for Du Yuan. As Du Yuan deployed the power of his law, Lin Fei instantly detected the fluctuation of the law. Then, an overwhelming force erupted from Du Yuan, and his strength skyrocketed in an instant, crushing Lin Fei's physical form with an unstoppable, devastating momentum. Even the power from the 200-particle world's eruption seemed insignificant before Du Yuan. Such immense strength. And the fluctuation of a law. This must be the law of strength. Having transcended several tribulations, possessing several laws of strength. Once deployed, the unleashed power is truly terrifying. But in terms of physical strength, I am not inferior to any martial god. A peculiar gleam flickered in Lin Fei's eyes. If it were any other law, Lin Fei might have had to resort to the world law. But when it came to strength, he feared nobody. Boom. In the next moment, Lin Fei didn't hesitate. All 800-particle worlds within him erupted at once. Suddenly, he resembled a volcano that had been silent for years, now unleashing its boundless power. His physical form swelled to several times its size. Simultaneously, a terrifying force brewed within him. Accompanying Lin Fei's punch, all his power burst forth. Rumble. The collision of physical forms between Lin Fei and Du Yuan twisted the very fabric of the void for the first time. In the void, the contest was a pure display of strength. No tricks or fancy techniques, the stronger force would prevail. Thus, neither yielded. As time passed, the disparity in their strengths became evident. Spurt. Next, Du Yuan's physical form began to disintegrate. Lin Fei's strength gained the upper hand, overwhelmingly destroying part of Du Yuan's physical particles. Whoosh! Du Yuan retreated a distance. His injuries instantly healed, but his expression bore a hint of peculiarity. I am defeated. Du Yuan slowly spoke, his expression complex. In his proudest domain, strength, he had failed. It was hard for Du Yuan to accept, yet it was the undeniable truth. Victory is victory. Defeat is defeat. He was not one to shy away from a loss.